Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. We are doing two like chattier get ready with me style videos in a row. I'm working on something pretty big. I was admittedly originally gonna skip this week actually, or Sunday I should say, because the new Hunger Games book comes out Tuesday next week. And so I figured I was just gonna turn a video around as quickly as I could for that, so that could count as my video for this weekend. And I keep alluding to this really big video I'm working on. You guys will understand. You are not gonna need me to tell you in the description that that was the video I'm talking about. You'll know. So I was just gonna spend the week working on that, but I've just been on such a roll lately and the channel's been doing so well and I'm so close to 10K subscribers, which is crazy. Thank you guys. That I was like, you know what? I don't want to skip a week. I'm gonna post anyway, but it's Friday and I usually post on Sunday. So I was like, well, can't read a book and make a video and edit it by Sunday. So, but luckily for me, I recently read a book for fun, believe it or not, which I have not been doing a lot of because of reading books for the channel. But luckily for me, I recently read a book that I feel strongly enough about that I could totally rant about it. In fact, when I first finished it, I filmed the whole rant, but I watched the footage back and honestly, I was so mean. And you guys know I don't like to be like overly negative. I try to always give people the benefit of the doubt on here, especially like myself writing my own book, like being in the process of it right now. I feel like I just have sympathy for these authors, you know what I mean? I was watching it back and I was like, I feel like that's a little meaner than I want to be on the channel, so let me try again. So I'm gonna try and tell you why I was so frustrated with my year of rest and relaxation without being rude. Let's go for constructive criticism instead of like angry ranting, you know what I mean? This book was popular on BookTube 5 years ago, I think. This is like truly a new record for me being behind the curve. I'm usually late to the trends, we know this about me, but this is a new low even for me. 5 years after it was popular on BookTube and like 7 years after it was published, and here I am talking about it. But I finally picked it up and read it because it was really cheap on the Kobo store, and I've been trying to test out my new e-reader, the Kobo Libra Color, and I went into it expecting it to be a little unique. Like a lot of people say Otessa moshfegh is a very strange author and she writes kind of strange work and it's a little bit more abstract sometimes. And literary fiction in general is just usually a little less plot heavy than the fantasy and romance I typically go for. So I was prepared for that, right? This book is incredibly critically acclaimed, but it wasn't really loved by general audiences. And typically that means it's a little more abstract. And when back in the day when everybody was talking about it on BookTube, it was kind of the darling of BookTube. Like a lot of people really liked it. I remember people saying that they understood why people didn't. And they were talking about it not necessarily being like the most entertaining thing or enjoyable read necessarily. You know, sometimes the intention of a creator isn't to make something entertaining or enjoyable. And when I say the word enjoyable in this video, I want to be really clear that I don't mean that every book has to give you like a warm and fuzzy feeling, but more just like the ease of the read. Like sometimes things can be kind of negative or have sad things happen, but the read of it is still simple. Whereas sometimes you kind of feel like you're pushing your way through a read because you're not like when I say enjoying, negative emotion for the sake of catharsis could be captured in what I'm describing as enjoying. So I was prepared for that and I knew what I was getting myself into. That being said, for about, I would say 60 or 70% of this book, I completely understood why it got the reviews it got from everybody. We're gonna stick to no spoilers for a while longer, but eventually I am gonna dip into spoilers, but I'll warn you. The book is about a woman who is experiencing a severe mental health crisis and she decides to attempt to sleep for a year to turn over all her cells and wake up refreshed and renew out the other side of it with a new lease on life. Basically, she's trying to like completely reset her brain so that she can like be happy again and not be suffering from mental illness. Also, while I'm talking about this, I'm going to attempt to slick back my hair. I've never been this good at this. And honestly, slick back buns don't look that good on me, which is why I've never tried to get good at it. But I've been going to hot yoga more and I did Pilates this morning. And it's great that I've been going so often, but because I've been going so often a lot of days now, my hair just looks like this because if I went to yoga or Pilates, but I don't want to wash my hair, then this is what I do with it. So I've decided to attempt to slick back the rest of my hair and leave my bangs out and like fix it all up. So I got some products and we're gonna try to do that. All right, we'll see if we can even fix this. So she's trying to sleep off her mental illness, right? By taking a bunch of sleeping medication. And she has this horrible psychiatrist that totally just prescribes her whatever she asks for. And so she's able to get her hands on like a bunch of different sleeping medications, and she's attempting to sleep off the year, like I said. And the reason I said that for the beginning, this isn't a spoiler, this is like just a review, but I was understanding up until I would say about the 60 or 70% point why it got all of the reviews that it got, because I found it to be somewhat of a difficult read, which is probably why it wasn't exactly loved by general audiences. And by difficult read, I mean the main character is suffering from a severe mental health crisis, right? So her perspective on life is really negative, and her perspective on the people around her is also very negative. And so it very much feels like one of those books where the main character sucks and everybody else sucks as well. And like literally every single character that you get introduced to just sucks in some way. But it's not that they actually suck that bad. It's that our main character is mentally ill. So that's like her perspective on the world. And I was actually finding it quite impressive from like a writing skill perspective, that it felt like she was really able to differentiate between the character's feelings about the world around her and the people around her. I feel like it was kind of obvious that the reason that she was being so negative about all the other characters is because she was like really mentally ill. And so it was feeling like a pretty accurate representation of very severe mental illness like that. And I was kind of enjoying the metaphor for dissociation, because that's really what the like sleeping part of it is like a big metaphor for when you're experiencing severe enough mental illness that you're just completely dissociated from the world around you. And so I was finding it to be an impressive work of fiction. Like I think the author herself was like showing off her skill a little bit, but I could completely understand why general audiences wouldn't enjoy it. And I wasn't like enjoying it per se. And again, I'd like to reiterate that poof just looks ridiculous. But I would just like to reiterate that for me, like the word enjoying here just means like the ease of the actual read itself and how enjoyable the read is, right? It doesn't need to be positive, but just like generally enjoyable. So anyway, the end of the book happened and it just completely ruined all of that for me. This is where we're gonna get into spoilers. I got 2 new products to try and then a hair clip. So I have this wax stick. I like Briogeo a lot. I actually don't use any of their hair products right now, but I have used them in the past and I've really liked them. So I decided to try the Style and Treat Yuzu Plus Plum Oil Sleek Stick and the Don't Despair Repair Strengthening Treatment Oil. I'm gonna put this in my hair almost like a gel. Oh man, that's gonna be really easy to use too much. Oh, you know, actually, that was harder to get product out than I thought it was gonna be, which I like. I think that's good because oil you don't want to use too much of. Anyway, I have the thickest hair known to man. Literally, like this cut hides it, like because I have a wolf cut, right? Or shag, whatever you want to call it. And it hides how thick my hair is. Like my hair just looks like it falls almost normal looking because I have such a short layer up at the top. But I literally genuinely have the thickest hair known to man, which is why I always have such a hard time doing slick backs and they always end up looking so bad. Oh, that oil smells really good. I'm enjoying that. So anyway, somewhere around like the 70% mark of the book, I don't know exactly where it is, our main girl decides to start basically like skipping days at a time using this medication that like makes her, she's not necessarily like actually asleep. Like if you were around her, she might be like awake and talking, but she doesn't know because she basically doesn't remember it. So it's kind of from her perspective, it makes her lose like 3 days at a time. So she decides to go through like 6 months of just taking this medication daily to see how that goes for her in an attempt to finish out her year of rest and relaxation. And she does so. Now, like I said, I was interpreting this whole time that this whole thing was like a big metaphor for dissociation. And so I was expecting our main character to kind of learn a lesson at the end of the book that you can't actually sleep off all your problems and to be forced to actually like mentally and emotionally deal with her grief and stuff and like all this stuff that she's like trying to process. Like I thought she was going to end up like finding out like, oh, I actually have to process that stuff instead of just sleeping it off, you know? No. If you were expecting that from this book, don't. She wakes up from her year of rest and relaxation and is just better. She just feels better. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the leaves on the trees are green again, life's worth living. Sleeping the year off works. And then her best friend dies in 9/11. And that's how the book ends. Yep, you heard me right. The book ends with her best friend dying in 9/11. All right, this is what we're looking like from the side. What do we think? I wonder if with this dye, this is gonna look weird on me because of like my halo here that I have of dye. I'm gonna go check this before I move on to my bangs, and then we'll break down the whole 9/11 thing. All right, I'm learning. The front looks great, but the back I think could use a little bit more of both products, like when it gets closer to where I have it slicked. So I'm just gonna fix that up quick and then we'll go from there. That is lovely. What does that smell like? It reminds me of a pool. But like it doesn't smell like chlorine. It smells like some kind of product from my childhood that we used to use when we would get in the pool. But I don't know what. I'll have to have my mother smell that and see if she can figure it out. Our sunscreen maybe? That she used to put on us? What does it smell like? It has little flower petals in there. I don't know what it's supposed to smell like, but I like it, whatever it is. All right, I think that's the first good slick back I've done in my whole entire life. Shout out to the girlies on TikTok for teaching me how to do that. Turns out an old dog like me can learn a new trick. The kids are onto something with these wax sticks. Oh my God, this made it so much easier. Let's see how much you get in here though, because this was like $20. Watch me not be able to like twist it back down. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. I don't want to twist it like all the way up, but that's a good amount of product for, I think this was like $20, like I said, and I can twist it down. Okay, good. That wasn't all the way out, but it started to like pitch to the side, so I was a little bit worried that if I went all the way out, it would break off. Okay, I'm not mad about this product being 20 bucks with the amount of product that you get. I think it'll take me a while to go through this. So anyway, I used this was more expensive. This was like 30 bucks, but I didn't even it looks like I didn't even use it. I used so little of this. So I think both these products will last me a pretty long time. They're both pretty small. Here they are in my hands. This one was like 30 bucks. This was like $23 maybe. All right, let's see if we can conquer. Oh, should I just do the rest of the video like this? Should I put this on the thumbnail? I look like the guy from Incredibles. I also look like the baby from Incredibles. I somehow look like both the bad guy and the baby from Incredibles. Remember when I told you I have like the thickest hair known to man? Okay. Guys, we might have to slick back the bangs. Let's see if we can salvage this. Where's my dry shampoo? Oh, that's not my dry shampoo. Hang on. Okay, I have a little heat protectant pad for when I'm gonna put this down. And then I have this heat brush here. You can just see that my hair is like stuck in everything, but this is the main something or other, and I'm gonna plug this in. I got this to fix my bangs, and then they looked super helmety, but my hairstylist and I recently think we figured out how to not make my bangs look like a helmet. Oh, it sings to you. I forgot about that. Anybody who clicked in this video just to hear my review on my year of rest and relaxation probably has clicked out by this point, if I'm being so for real. I was gonna say they're frustrated right now, but they're probably not still watching. Okay, this is my dry shampoo. This is the guyssss Refreshing Dry Shampoo. It's expensive, but I love this stuff. Sometimes expensive hair products are worth it. Well, only you can decide what worth it is to you, but okay, let's see if we can fix this. Jeez. So my stylist and I have been doing is taking the side and going backwards with it when she like blow dries my hair at the salon. And you guys loved it because the last time I made a video was my insurgent video with my hair freshly done. I got a ton of comments about how good my hair looked. So we figured it out. I should have put heat protectant on my bangs, but whatever. One time won't kill me as long as I remember next time. Where were we? Oh yeah, 9/11. So yeah, the plot twist at the end of this book is that the best friend dies in 9/11. And I use the word plot twist really loosely. This isn't really a plot twist in my opinion. I feel like this was pretty heavily foreshadowed, but it's funny because I ended up going back and rereading some of the like critics reviews that actually like rated it really highly afterwards because I was so confused. And a lot of them were saying that it was like a big surprise, like that they were actually shocked by the plot twist. And you guys know I'm really good at reading foreshadowing, you know, but I don't know. I mean, so the book takes place from 2000 to 2001. And at one point it explicitly mentions that her ex-boyfriend, who she has this like on again, off again situationship with, works in the Twin Towers. That's like very specifically mentioned. And the second that was like mentioned, oh my God, I look ridiculous. We might have to slick the bangs back, friends. But the second that was mentioned like that explicitly, I was like, is he gonna die in 9/11? That would be crazy. And the answer is no, he's not actually gonna die in 9/11. He's gonna be on vacation during 9/11. And then it explicitly mentions, and I mean very explicitly mentions at one point, that her friend got a promotion and that due to the promotion, she now also works in the Twin Towers. So now basically the only two characters that she actually has any positive feelings for whatsoever in this whole entire book, And I would say that loosely because she doesn't really like anybody. So she doesn't really like them either. I don't know. What do you think, guys? Should I just slick back the bangs or does it kind of work? I feel like I've gone over them so many times with this thing and it's just not working. Do I need a little bit more dry shampoo? Maybe. So anyway, a lot of people said that they thought it was like really a surprise that like the 9/11 plot twist was like really a shock. If you're just a casual reader and you feel that way, fine. But if you are a literary critic, like if your job is to review literature and you did not see that plot twist coming, I think that's kind of embarrassing and I can't believe you admitted that publicly. Again, it takes place from 2000 to 2001. Time is passing quickly in 2001. And then both of the only people that she cares about in the whole entire world work in the Twin Towers, and that is like explicitly mentioned. But I was sitting there thinking, you know what? I have to be wrong because 9/11 would be such a crazy thing to rope into this story at this point in time that there's no way she's gonna do that, right? I just kept thinking to myself, surely there's no way. Like she must just be planting that foreshadowing for fun. Surely there's no way 9/11 comes into this. But nope, the last chapter of the book is her friend dying in 9/11. And she like watches it on TV. Never says it by name, but heavily implies that her friend is one of the ones who like jumped out of the tower. How do I want to do this? Maybe like that? That's kind of cute, right? Instead of like down like that. Yeah, for sure. This is giving like berries and cream. This is giving like cute TikTok girly, right? Okay, we'll do that. All right, that didn't work. Okay. So anyway, she tapes 9/11, she being the main character, who's never named, by the way. She's an unnamed narrator, or she was named and I completely forgot what it was, but I'm pretty sure she's unnamed. All right, I have always hated slickbacks on myself when I was in dance, but I actually think this is starting to look pretty cute. I may or may not have severely heat damaged my bangs going over them so many times with that stupid thing, but we'll see. We'll see next time I go to wear my hair curly. My bangs will grow back quickly. My hair grows like a weed. What do we think? Is it cute? Maybe put some big earrings on. I just feel like my hair is so like poofy usually that with it so flat to my head, like I just don't think it looks good. I think I look good with poofy hair, you know? So maybe some big old earrings will help with that. Let's see what I have. Oh my God. Okay, hang on. God, my hair can be so difficult sometimes. I love having thick hair. I'm so lucky. There's upsides and downsides to everything. I wouldn't trade my hair for the world. I love it. And every once in a while, I'm like, yeah, damn, I wish I had easier to deal with hair. What is happening? Why does it keep doing that? Okay, those sides do not match, but I actually kind of like this side better now. So we're gonna go back and redo this side. I think it actually looks pretty cute. What do we think? What do we think? I guess I won't know until I'm editing. Should we do these cute little dinos for the rest of the video, or are they distracting because they're so dangly? I have these like leather ones my aunt got me. Those are kind of cute, right? Okay, I know I keep saying I'm done, but I just put significantly more of the oil specifically in my hair, and then I went over it with the wax again. I know you can't see me, hang on. And I think that that looks a lot better. I think I was like trying to avoid overdoing it with the oil because I didn't want my hair to look oily, and then I realized that like I'm going for the slick back look. So with it slick back, it doesn't look oily, it looks slick, you know? They call it an oil slick for a reason. So I went in with a lot more of the oil, and I think it looks way better. But like I said, my hair is very, very difficult. And so I just might have to make my peace with the fact that I'll have to use like hairspray or gel or something like that. See how this holds. And I'm just putting a little bit more into my eyebrows because I think with my hair slicked back, I need to color them a little bit darker. Okay. And every time I like try to remember what I was talking about with the frickin' book and I remember 9/11 is what I was talking about, I like get pissed off. So like I said, her friend dies in 9/11 and she records it on TV. She never uses her name, but it's implied that one of the jumpers out of the tower, like somebody who jumped instead of dying in the fire, is one of her friends. And the last line of the book is something to the effect of, you know, that she becomes obsessed with this woman that jumped out of the tower, not because she looks exactly like her friend, but because said woman is free. Yes, free is the word that she used. So listen, I like 9/11 memes just as much as the next Gen Zer. Little bolo tie moment. Oh, put it on backwards. But I feel like it's one thing to just like kind of make a little bit of a joke about 9/11 and to actively romanticize a depiction of a person who chose to throw themselves out of the tower and die by impact to the ground instead of burning to death within the tower. Feels like we shouldn't be romanticizing that. Just Just my personal opinion. So that on its own was like kind of weird. So what was the point? It kind of feels like the point TM of this book is wrapped up in this 9/11 plot twist, but I couldn't for the life of me tell you what it is. And I like to think I'm pretty good at analyzing literature. I mean, I certainly have commenters who don't agree with that, but I don't know. I'm making a little bit of a tiny name for myself on this platform by analyzing different books, and I like to think that I'm relatively good at it. And so if I'm struggling to figure out what the point TM of this book is, then I imagine that the everyday reader is really going to struggle doing that. Trigger warning for talking about suicide. The only things that I could think are the character struggles somewhat with suicidal ideation, but in kind of like a strange and roundabout way throughout the book, which I think is great. Suicidal ideation can manifest in very different ways. It doesn't always look the way that people think it does. I could see an interpretation of this ending where the reason that she feels like this jumper is free is because she was somewhat resistant throughout the narrative to taking her own life and seemed somewhat apathetic to whether or not she would wake up from her various slumbers, but never made an overt attempt on her life. That maybe she felt that this jumper choosing to die by jumping out of the tower instead of allowing themselves to die via the fire, choosing the way in which they died, and themselves choosing what they thought was maybe a more dignified death, being what she means by free. That's the most charitable thing that I could come up with. The only other thing that I could think of was maybe it's a marker that the character herself is still mentally ill, that she considers somebody jumping out of the tower to be something freeing instead of sad, but I don't know. I just feel like I'm really stretching to figure it out, and I don't like to do that. And this brings me to a little bit of a frustration that I have with the direction that the literary fiction genre in general is headed. The first thing I want to say is art is art. Art is valid, right? Art is valid just because somebody created it, and so as long as a human creates it, not AI, it's inherently valid, right? That being said, this channel is all about me analyzing and critiquing literature. And if somebody wants to work as a professional author and put their work out into the world, then they're opening themselves up for criticism. And in my opinion, this book, if it's not entertaining, if it's not enjoyable, and there also isn't like a clear-cut message or point, then what was the point? I think so many literary fiction writers right now are kind of hiding behind the not all art needs to be about entertainment, not all art needs to be about enjoyment. Sometimes it can be about like making a point, right? And I think that's valid, 100%. But if you don't make the point that you're trying to make, if you don't make it clear, then I don't think you get to hide behind the excuse of not every book needs to be entertaining or enjoyable. Because it's not entertaining, it's not enjoyable, and it actually didn't say anything. Or if it was supposed to say something, I completely missed what it was. And maybe I'm an idiot, and I'm open to that. If you guys read this and you totally got a message out of it that I didn't get, feel free to comment down below what it was. I want to know. Because like I said, I went back and read what a lot of the critics were saying about it. Another thing that they said that confused me was that they thought it was funny. Didn't get that. Didn't make me giggle once. I did not think it was funny. And I was trying to figure out like what the jokes were. Like, what were the jokes? And I was like, well, maybe it's like her insults of the people around her. And I'm not trying to like claim superiority by being like, I don't think that's funny. I'm just like being so for real. I didn't even realize the book was trying to make me laugh. And I don't know if it was or not. I just know that a lot of the reviews that they put into the book talked about it being comedic. And so I would assume that at least the publisher wants people to go into it because they put them at the front thinking it's going to be comedic. I just didn't read the reviews before I actually started the book. So maybe it was supposed to be funny, and maybe it was like the insults that were supposed to be funny. I just genuinely made it to the end of the book and it literally did not make me laugh once. Did not think it was funny whatsoever. The only other thing I could think is that it's very crass. So maybe some of why they were saying it was funny is more of like the shock value of the giggle you might get out of somebody by how crass and sexual some of the passages were, but I read a lot of romance, so the words pussy and cock are not going to throw me. I've seen those in a book before. If she thinks that she was shocking enough to make me giggle, she should open AO3 because she's got nothing on those girlies. So I don't know, it didn't make me laugh at all, and that was the best that I could come up with of like maybe where the comedy was, but I didn't think it was funny, I didn't think it was entertaining, I didn't think it was enjoyable, and I didn't think it said anything. And so I found myself closing the last page of the book just feeling like it was really pointless. And you know what? Maybe that was the point. Maybe the point is that a year sleeping off your life is pointless, and the book was a representation of that, and so the book was pointless. And if that's it, then she succeeded. But I think I'm just fed up with the whole like defending art with the, it doesn't have to be entertaining, it doesn't have to be enjoyable. It's like, okay, but then what is it doing? And again, like, art is valid just because somebody made it, but that's my criticism for this work, is what was it trying to do? Because I could not for the life of me figure it out, and so it ended up feeling very pointless to me. Have you guys read this? How did you feel about it? Like I said, up until like the 60 or 70% mark, I got what it was trying to do, or at least I think I did. If it was trying to be funny, then I didn't. But I just think it really went off the rails when she started like sleeping off the rest of the year. And then the 9/11 plot twist, guys, if you're gonna put 9/11 in there, think real hard. I don't like random events in literature anyway. Something like a car accident or a motorcycle accident, or I guess I have to add 9/11 to that list now. Like something that can't necessarily be predicted. Although I guess, like I said, the 9/11 thing was like, it wasn't predicted ahead of time. I, the reader, picked up on it. At the time, I don't think people saw it coming. Here's the thing, right? I've gone on this rant many a time, IRL, but I don't know that I've ever actually talked about this on the channel. I think that if you need a random event in your book in order to make the climax work, you failed. Like, because as an author, you need to build tension, laying the foreshadowing, letting things kind of build. The book kind of randomly mentions the Twin Towers and the year, and it takes place in New York City, and there also are these random mentions of like George W. Bush. In fact, I found out that the W stands for Walker. I didn't even know that. I guess it's George Walker Bush. Now I know. Glad I have that information now. Maybe that was the point. Maybe she wanted to teach Gen Z that the W stands for Walker. Sorry, this is what happened when I went on the rant before. I just started ragging on the poor author. I do feel kind of bad. But hey, who knew? The W stands for Walker. So there was foreshadowing, but it didn't feel like it built, and it didn't feel like it was building any tension because it was just so irrelevant to the story. It was just in the back of my mind, and I was thinking to myself, no way she brings 9/11 into this. And if she does, how and why? And I finished the book and I found out the how, and I'm still wondering the why. And I don't know that I'll ever have the answer. But I feel like random events just don't lend themselves to building tension properly in narratives. And so they really, really only work if the point of what you're trying to get across is randomness and chaos. For example, there's a book called No Country for Old Men that they made an incredible movie adaptation of. I actually haven't read the book, but the movie is really, really good. I don't want to spoil it. All I will say is that the theme of it is the randomness and chaos and lack of control that all of us really have over the universe at large. And at some point in that story, there is a random event, somewhat like what I'm talking about, that I think actually really lends itself to the point of the story and is very well done. It's one of the only times I've seen like an accident within a story that wasn't like the kickoff of the story, that I thought actually really lent itself to the narrative and the point of the story and was well done, I guess. Otherwise, accidents really only serve in like long-running TV dramas to kill off characters when the actors want to move on with their lives. And that's fine too. I don't get like pissed off about that. But any other time I see like a random event like that, an accident of some kind in a book, I'm just like, man, it's lazy writing. It's lazy. Like, you yourself could not build the tension enough to lead to a climax, so you had to have something random happen. And in this book, like, yeah, it was like essentially 200 pages of nothing, which is fine, but no tension building within that nothing. I don't necessarily need plot. I've said that a million times, and I feel like you guys at this point aren't going to believe me, but like I said, even at the 70% mark, I was still like having a relatively positive feeling about this book, even though no plot had really happened, because I understood what it was trying to do, or at least I thought I did at the time. And so I don't necessarily need plot to be entertained. I was impressed with the writing. I was impressed with her character work. I found it to be an interesting study on mental illness and a conversation about dissociation, and I was along for the ride. But she decided she needed a climax. She didn't build the tension for a climax, and ends up basically like using 9/11 to be the shocking ending of the book, to like give you something to think about afterward. Like, no, it's your writing that needs to give me something to think about. Like, all I've been thinking about since I finished the book, anytime it pops into my head, is how stupid the ending was. It was stupid, it was pointless, and it was lazy. And I'm honestly quite disappointed that this ended up so critically acclaimed. We need to stop celebrating people just because they did something unique. They have to do something unique and good They have to do something unique and actually execute it well. And again, like, all art is valid. This is just my opinion, right? But in my opinion, the real artistic challenge is doing something unique, doing something fresh, doing something different, but executing it in a way that is actually enjoyable, entertaining, and consumable by the masses. It is the unity of those three things that makes you one of the greats, and I just didn't feel like this book checked those boxes. It didn't check any boxes. Literally the only thing I could potentially give it, and this is such a stretch, and this is me being so charitable, but literally in my very last video, I said that I don't like it when people walk away from a work with a certain feeling about a character specifically, and they don't think that it was intentional by the author. Now, it's not necessarily the character. The book in general felt very pretentious to me. The character definitely felt pretentious, but so did the book. Now, if I were granting the most grace I possibly could, I would say that it is possible that the point of the book is the direction that literary fiction is heading, and that the book was almost making fun of itself, because there are points in it where she is kind of making fun of pretentious artists, and that the pretension within the work was like an intentional choice by her part, and that the book is essentially commenting on itself and making fun of itself, talking about the direction that the literary fiction genre has been heading and what critics have been enjoying about it. Maybe that's the nicest thing that I could come up with to be what she was trying to do. But again, maybe I'm just like missing something huge. If you read this and you liked it, please comment and tell me why. Like, I'm actually so curious. If you found it to be funny, what was funny about it? I'm not even saying that to be mean. Like, I actually just don't know. That's gonna be all for me today, you guys. I think the slick back went well. I think it held up good while we were chatting. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!